to allow a dictator to lie and deceive? The danger posed by Saddam Hussein and his weapons cannot be ignored or wished away. The danger must be confronted. This danger will be removed by the Iraqi people themselves. Today they live in scarcity and fear under a dictator who has brought them nothing but war and misery and torture. Their lives and their freedom matter little to Saddam Hussein. As a condition for ending the Persian Gulf War, the Iraqi regime was required to destroy its weapons of mass destruction, to cease all development of such weapons, and to stop all support for terrorist groups. The Iraqi regime has violated all of those obligations. While there are many dangers in the world, the threat from Iraq stands alone because it gathers the most serious dangers of our age in one place. Iraq's weapons of mass destruction are controlled by a murderous tyrant who has already used chemical weapons to kill thousands of people. The same tyrant has tried to dominate the Middle East, has invaded and brutally occupied a small neighbor, has struck other nations without warning, and holds an unrelenting hostility toward the United States. And we know that after September the 11th, Saddam Hussein's regime gleefully celebrated the terrorist attacks on America. Iraq could decide on any given day to provide a biological or chemical weapon to a terrorist group or individual terrorists. Alliance with terrorists could allow the Iraqi regime to attack America without leaving any fingerprints. Some have argued that confronting the threat from Iraq could detract from the war against terror. To the contrary, confronting the threat posed by Iraq is crucial to winning the war on terror. They must understand that all war criminals will be pursued and punished. It's clear to me now that he is not disarming, and surely our friends have learned lessons from the past. Surely we have learned how this man deceives and delays. I mean, he's given people the runaround. And as many of my advisors said on TV this week, the time is running out. I believe in the name of peace he must disarm, and we will lead a coalition of willing nations to disarm him. Make no mistake about that. He will be disarmed. But how do you... The United States has made it clear our intention, and our intention is to work with the world for Saddam to disarm. He's been given ample time to disarm. We have had ample time now to see that the tricks of the past, he's employing the tricks of the past today. He's giving people the runaround. He wants to play hide and seek. He's got a vast country. He wants to focus the attention of the world on inspectors. This is not about inspectors. This is about a disarmed Iraq. He has weapons of mass destruction, the world's deadliest weapons, which pose a direct threat to the United States, our citizens, and our friends and allies. He has been told to disarm for 11 long years. He's not disarming. This business about, more time, how much time do we need to see clearly that he's not disarming? As I said, this looks like a rerun of a bad movie, and I'm not interested in watching it. All right, thank you all. On its present course, the Iraqi regime is a threat of unique urgency. We know the treacherous history of the regime. It has waged a war against its neighbors. It has sponsored and sheltered terrorists. It has developed weapons of mass death. It has used them against innocent men, women, and children. We know the designs of the Iraqi regime. In defiance of pledges to the UN, it has stockpiled biological and chemical weapons. It is rebuilding the facilities used to make those weapons. UN inspectors believe that Iraq could have produced enough biological and chemical agent to kill millions of people. The regime has the scientists and facilities to build nuclear weapons and is seeking the materials needed to do so. We know the methods of this regime. They buy time with hollow promises. They move incriminating evidence to stay ahead of inspectors. They concede just enough to escape punishment, and then violate every pledge when the attention of the world is turned away. The use of force to disarm Iraq. Hussein continues to defy the world and not disarm. It's a statement of intent to once and for all disarm Saddam Hussein. He's a threat. He's a threat to the country. He's a threat to people in his neighborhood. He's a real threat. And it's now time for the world to come together and disarm him. To shrink from this threat would bring a false sense of temporary peace, leading to a future in which millions live or die at the discretion of a brutal dictator. A little bit more time. Saddam Hussein has had 12 years to disarm. He is deceiving people. That's what's important for our fellow citizens to realize, that if he really intended to disarm, like the world has asked him to do, we would know whether he was disarming. He's trying to buy time. I can understand why he's been successful with these tactics for 12 years. There will be a regime change. And replacing this cancer inside of Iraq will be a government that represents the rights of all the people. It's hard to believe anybody saying he isn't in defiance of 1441, because 1441 said he must disarm. And yes, we'll call for a vote. No matter what the whip count is, we're calling for the vote. We want to see people stand up and say what their opinion is about Saddam Hussein and the utility of the United Nations Security Council. And so, you bet, it's time for people to show their cards. We will act, and we really don't need United Nations approval to do so. I will not leave the American people at the mercy of the Iraqi dictator and his weapons. The careers of two of the regime's chief henchmen came to an end. Saddam Hussein's sons were responsible for torture, maiming, and murder of countless Iraqis. Now more than ever, all Iraqis can know that the former regime is gone and will not be coming back. Now, with the regime of Saddam Hussein gone forever, a few remaining holdouts are trying to prevent the advance of order and freedom, of a free and secure Iraq. It is the first anniversary of the moment the Iraqi people reclaimed their free and sovereign nation. Yet democracy is moving forward and democratic process. He's built the institutions of a stable democracy, voting in free elections and for free Iraq. Faith in the cause of freedom. A democratic Iraq will be a great triumph in the history of liberty. I want to know all the facts. We do know that Saddam Hussein had the intent and the capabilities to cause great harm. We know he was a danger. He was not only a danger to people in the free world, he was a danger to his own people. I mean, he slaughtered thousands of people, he imprisoned people. I don't know if there will be a major commitment to new truth, but I think there will be a major focus on helping Iraq to become a free country. They were fierce anti-Saddam people. We helped their organizations which believed that the tyranny of Saddam was bad for the Iraqi people. These are historic times. And I am pleased with the progress Seeing the Iraqis through as they build their democracy is critical to keeping the American people safe. Prime Minister Maliki is a good guy, good man. To the Iraqi people who now live in a democracy and not a dictatorship.